Hi, the topic of this video is harmonized scales. What I'd like you to come away with is to understand how chords are built, how to play within a given key, and how to improvise your own music. And I'm going to try to do this for you as quickly as I can. A harmonized scale is a mathematical way of taking a scale and building chords from it. I've placed a C scale on the screen. You're familiar with this: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. I've also given a numeric value to each note as it pertains to its position within the scale. C is the first note, so it gets the 1. D is the second note, so it gets the 2, and so on and so forth, until we finally get back to C, and we just call that going home to 1. Underneath the notes is I've placed the distance between each note. The distance between C and D is a whole step. The distance between D and E is also a whole step. However, the distance between E and F is a half step. There is no sharp or flat between E and F. That's the same with B and C. There is no sharp or flat between B and C. If I harmonize this scale, the chords that are produced are C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, G 7, A minor 7, B7 flat 5, and C major 7. The reason why that's produced has to do with the math involved in music theory. If I take C, I start at 1, and I stack every third note, what results is C, and then I'll count 3 more, 1, 2, 3, E, and starting from E, I'll count 3 more, 1, 2, 3, that brings me to G. And then from G, I'll count 3 more. 1, 2, 3. That gives me B. Music theory tells me that this is a C major 7 chord. I can do the same thing with every note within the scale. And every chord that produced will follow this pattern if I'm using the major scale. C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, G7, A minor 7, B7 flat 5, and C major 7. D would go a little bit something like this. I would call D my 1 chord, D, and then I'd count 3 away. 1, 2, 3. That gives me F. And then I'd count 3 from that. 1, 2, 3. That gives me A. And then I'd count 3 more from that, which would give me 1, 2, 3, C. Music theory tells me that this is a D minor 7. If I do this all the way through the scale, stacking thirds, as I had done previously, what will result is this. It's a harmonized scale. A harmonized scale represents every chord that can be played within a given key. If I'm in the key of C, I have these chords to choose from and their variations, but right now we're just going to stick with these chords. Let's have a look at how those chords can function in a musical context. The pattern that a major scale follows when harmonized is always the same. It's major, minor, minor, major, dominant, minor, minor 7 flat 5, and then back home to 1. The 4 unique chord shapes that are associated with harmonized scales are the ones I'm going to show you are movable. So if you learn them for one scale, if you learn them for C, they can be applied to any other scale, A flat major, F major, E major, whatever. You'll start to notice that they have a very scale-like sound to them. If I play C, C, D, E, F, and I can go G, A, E, back to C. That in a more standard progression, it could sound a little bit, if you were starting in G, and that I was going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1 in G. Finding the position for movable chords, you're going to be playing chords that are on the 6th string and the 5th string, so that's E and A. If I know that E, the 6th string is open, so I can count that as E, there is no distance between E and F, so the first note that I fret after E is F, G, A, B, there's that half step again, C, D, and E. If I go down to the 5th string, the same thing will take place. Now keep in mind, the only reason why you're keeping track of the notes that are played is because these chords are movable, and you need to know where the root note is so that you can appropriately place the chord. Starting on the 5th string, this is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. We'll go back to C like that. Once you're comfortable finding root notes, so if I said to you on 6th string, fret an F, you should know to jump right here. If I said on the 5th string, fret a D, you should know that you're going to land right here. So looking at the scales that we play, the 1 chord in a harmonized major scale is a major chord. In our case, we were harmonizing C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find C on the 6th string. There it is right there, and I'm going to apply this shape to it. That'll give me a major 7 chord. Continuing on, the next chord is a minor chord. So I know after C comes D, so C, sharp, D, right there. So I can apply this shape to produce a minor chord. I know after D comes E. I also happen to know, because of the pattern of harmonized scales, that it's an E minor 7. So I go D, sharp, there's E right there. There's my E chord. If I wanted to play all that backwards, that's going to be 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. The next chord coming up is going to be a major chord. That's an F major 7, says the music theory. So I'll spot F. If I know that's E, that's got to be F. So I'll put my F right there. Now in C, you kind of tend to run out of room. So it's advisable to go back to the top. So we left off at F major 7. The next chord coming up is a G dominant 7 chord. So I'll spot G right here. That's G right there. Dominant 7 sounds something like this. This is a very unique chord. The 7th chord in any key is, I'll explain that later, but very unique chord. So after that, you're going to go, you played your G, then the next chord coming up is the 6th chord. I know that's a minor 7 type chord, so I go G. There it is, that's A minor 7. The next chord is also a pretty unique chord. This is going to be a B flat, is that right? B7 flat 5, I beg your pardon. So there it sounds just like this. And that takes me back home to 1. The next set of chords that I'm going to go over are the exact same chords. They're just going to be voiced a little bit differently. Instead of putting the root note on the 6, on the E string, I'm going to put it on the A string. This will open up a larger variety of chords that you can choose from. So in the key of C, if I follow the pattern, I know that the 1 chord has to be major. So I'm going to follow the A string, and I'm going to spot C. That's where I'm going to place my 1 chord. And following this shape for the 1 chord in a harmonized scale, it will be major. It sounds like this. That's a C major 7. I know that my 2 chord in a C major harmonized scale is D. Music theory tells me that it's a D minor 7. So I'm going to go from C, sharp, D. I'm going to spot D. And there it is, a D minor 7. I'll go to the E minor 7. That'll take me to the F major 7. That'll bring me to G. That's my dominant chord right there. And that's going to take me to my 6th chord. That's a minor chord. So I can apply that minor shape right there. There it is. And now I have to do a B7 flat 5. That's going to be my 7 chord. From A, that's going to be A sharp. And there's my B. I'm going to apply my root note on that, and it sounds a little something like this. I beg your pardon. If I can get it to sound right. There it is. And that'll take me back home to C, and I can apply that here. As you notice, you kind of run out of room quickly when doing these, so it's best to combine them. So if I was going to do C, I could do C major 7 to my 2 chord. However, my 3 chord here, I start to run out of space a little bit, and then when I get to F, I'm kind of getting into no man's land here. So what I might want to do is select a shape from the A string. Now again, I was selecting shapes from the E string. So here's a C, D, D, E, E, F, F, and I could go for the dominant chord in some place, but I'm going to drop down. I'm going to play it right here. That's going to be a 9 chord. Anyway, we'll give you the 7th. That's the 7th chord right there. And you'll note that closes up relatively well with the G. So a couple of things that have been explained up to this point are how to construct a harmonized scale from just a standard scale in the major key. In addition to that, we have talked about, I think we've shown 14 chords, 8 of which are unique. All of these chords are movable. So if I'm playing a C major 7 with my root note on the 6th string and I'm holding this shape, if I move that chord where holding the same shape, and if I put it on A, my root note is A, hold the same shape, that becomes an A major 7. I can do that with G, I can do it with A flat, I can do it with B, I can do it with any note, keeping in mind that my root note is on the 6th string. That also works with all of the chords that we explored on the A string. So if this is going to be my my C major 7, well, this has to be my D major 7. Why? Because I'm holding this shape and I'm on the D note. So if you know the chord shapes and the root note positions, then you know all of the chords in every key available to you. It just takes a little bit of practice. And once you know one harmonized scale, or the pattern of major, minor, minor, major, dominant, minor, minor 7 flat 5, and then back home to 1, it's really applicable to anything. So we're in a different key, we're in G, just remember the pattern and you'll be fine. So let's spot our 1 chord. It's G, and I happen to know that the 1 chord in a harmonized scale happens to be major, so there it is, that's 1. The 6th chord is E minor. The 2 chord is A minor. The 5 chord, I should play that standard. The 5 chord is going to be a D dominant 7. Take it home to 1, and that's G right there, but I don't have to play it there, do I? I can always take that root note chord and play it down here where its counterpart lies. Different root note, it's still G, different shape, but it's still a G major 7 type chord. I mean, that is really it. That is how you know how to play in a given key. Memorizing chord shapes that are associated with the pattern, the harmonized scale pattern, is a fantastic way to sort of mentally organize all these chords within your head and sort of wean yourself off of tablature and whatever else that you've been using to get by at this point. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that we can all continue getting better together.